What's going on? My name is Zach Hogan with Additive America, and today on this video I'm going to tell you the 5 reasons why you might want to consider 3D printing a mold. I know you never thought that the think outside the mold guy would be like, hey, just hear me out, but just hear me out. Alright, here we go. The first reason why you might want to consider 3D printing your mold is because it's cost effective. There's a lot of cost going into creating molds these days, especially traditional molds. You've got a lot of cost designing the mold, you've got a lot of cost in purchasing the raw materials, and then you've got a lot of machine time machining all the components that go into that traditional mold. So when you're utilizing 3D printing, it allows you to produce a mold a little bit quicker and at a lower cost than traditional methods, which may allow you to get your feet wet, get walk and maybe start to jog before you jump right on into that hard run with the traditional mold. So the first reason why you might want to consider 3D printing your mold is because it's cost effective. It really is. The second reason why you might want to consider 3D printing your mold is because of design flexibility. 3D printing allows you to create molds with complex geometries and intricate details that you might not be able to work into a traditional mold design. So if you're utilizing a design or a geometry that needs these types of features, then you're going to want to go ahead and consider 3D printing that mold again as well, because again, there's the options and the abilities to create features that you can't traditionally form with traditional injection molding. So this means that you have more design flexibility and you can create molds that are more tailored to your specific needs of what you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to cast a part that's a Shore A material, you might be able to get away with a little less draft and a little, some things like that, where you're still going to be able to pull the soft part out of the mold. But if you're dealing with those Shore D materials, you've got a couple of other lines of features that you're going to have to work out just to get everything to work right. So the second reason why you might want to consider 3D printing your mold is because of design flexibility. The third reason why you might want to consider 3D printing for a mold would be because of the quick turnaround. With 3D printing, you're able to basically create molds in hours or days as opposed to days, weeks, or months. So this allows you to, if you're still prototyping or iterating on your idea or your design, proceed through those steps much more quickly than you would utilizing traditional molds. Even a good prototype tool company is still going to run you 2 to 4 weeks on getting that tool created, which is a whole 2 weeks to 4 weeks of lost time where your design is sitting there and waiting to be tested. So with 3D printing molds, maybe you only need to try it 10 or 20, 50 times to get those iterations out to see which one works best or which one has the market response that you're looking for before you jump all the way into that expensive long time mold that you're going to create for traditional manufacturing. So again, obviously injection molding and traditional molding are still fantastic and wonderful things, but there are a couple of reasons and interesting times when you may want to incorporate 3D printing a mold for your design. And for number 3, quick turnaround. Can you get much quicker than 3D printing a mold? I mean, it's definitely faster than doing a traditional mold manufacturing. The fourth reason why you might want to consider 3D printing your mold is because of customization. With 3D printing, as you know, you're able to iterate and customize items very quickly and produce the molds, like we just said in number 3, very quick turnaround with 3D printing. So you're able to iterate and add customization to your products. Say you want to put letters on them, numbers on them, serialization, custom logos, all sorts of those things. The customization is actually something that's going to allow you to sell more of those products into their homes, or into the forever homes for those parts. And if you're able to customize your parts by customizing your molds faster, then you're able to produce more parts that are more niche than if you just had one traditional mold that's just producing, say, a straight walled part that's just the same over and over again. In traditional molding, for you to add this level of customization includes additional machine pieces, slides for your molds, as well as a lot of hand time, labor it takes to sub those little pieces and parts out, and then by the time you get the mold back in, now you've got those minimum run requirements again to get as many of those parts out of the mold to make it make sense financially. So one of the times when you may want to definitely consider using 3D printing for your molds is if you're using customizable parts that have short run numbers. So I would say anything under 1,000 maybe, but definitely anything under 100 if you're wanting to customize it. 3D printing the mold for that is a terrific way to skip over the traditional costs that may have prohibited those types of products from coming to the market maybe 10, 15 years ago. And last but not least, the fifth reason why you might want to consider 3D printing molds is because of accuracy and consistency. 3D printing nowadays allows for high precision and accuracy, ensuring that you're able to produce repeatable molds that are the same every time to produce a lot of end-use parts as efficiently as possible. So as you may know, sometimes molds or 3D printed molds or silicone molds, non-traditional, non-steel, non-aluminum molds may not last as long, especially if you're pulling Shore-D parts out of them. There may be chipping, just over time, the crisp edges of that mold may become rounded, things like that. So with the accuracy and consistency that is provided to you by 3D printing, you can just continue to produce more molds to continue to produce great end-use parts. So in a traditional mold case where you may have a mold that's good for 25 to 50,000 parts before it needs to be touched up, with your 3D printed molds, you may have to touch them up a little bit more frequently. You may most likely not get as many runs out of those molds as you would with traditional molding. However, it allows you to constantly be able to iterate, and the accuracy and consistency allows you to maintain one consistent mold over and over again. You may say, Zach, why is this so important? It doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me. But if you were thinking in cases of maybe 15, 20 years ago, early 2000s and before, you're still creating short run molds by hand. You're either printing an SLA or an FDM part, sanding it down, or you're taking a master part and you're building a mold off of that. You're boxing it up, you're pouring your silicone down, you're splitting it, you're getting your good parts line, you got your vents, you've got your fills and all those things. So the reason why accuracy and consistency and the ability to create the same mold over and over again is such a cool thing is because traditionally or previously in time, traditional molds were the only way for you to do that because you'd have to go back into the CNC machine and then create everything again off of the same program. There's still a variance for setting up tools and there's a couple other things incorporated in that, but that was still a much better way than doing so by making molds by hand. 3D printing has kind of come in right in between those two of traditional and ultra traditional by hand molds and kind of provided us with this ability to 3D print short, smaller molds usually, but gives you the ability to be accurate, consistent, and continue producing the same parts over and over and over again. So there you go, that's what we've got for you on the 5 reasons why you should consider 3D printing molds in your business or with your project. It's not something that I've ever been going around and waving the flag for. I've been the hashtag think outside the mold guy, even got the trademark for it. However, you might want to consider thinking about the mold a little bit too with your 3D printing because of how far the printers have come and things like that. You've got great materials, great printers. The technology is making its way there to where you can actually produce molds with 3D printing and then still produce parts off of those molds in an economical way that produces parts quickly, efficiently, and at a cost that is palatable for the end consumer. So that's what we've got for you on this one. If you think we missed a reason why, or if you think there's a reason why that should be in the top 5 that we didn't have in our top 5, I want to hear from you in the comments below or shoot me a private message and tell me why you think your reason should replace one of these 5 reasons in our top 5 reasons to utilize 3D printed molds. Really appreciate you checking out this video. If you would like to check out a couple of other ones, we got a couple of stuff coming up on the YouTube channel here, as well as you got some old stuff on there, all sorts of fun stuff. But anywho, really appreciate you checking us out. You can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can check me out on LinkedIn as well. And as always, you can stop in at additiveamerica.com and you can even get instant quotes on our website. So lots of cool information over there on the website, really cool instant quote tool. If you have questions about any of that, feel free to reach out to me. My number is 252-549-0247. Again, my name is Zach Holcomb. We'll catch up with you on the next video.